Welcome back to Big Mouth and welcome to the dceu Daily. Remember, you can tag and follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Come on, it's a laugh. So shall we get on with today's show? So this is from someone called Grace Church. When The Rock said the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change, I assumed it was because his character Black Adam is really powerful. But actually, it seems it's just because Warner Brothers have effectively written out Henry Cavill's Superman. I quote tweeted this by saying this: Truth, at WB Pictures, can you confirm that Henry Cavill is out of the DCEU and he's no longer part of the franchise, so we can just go rewatching Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut and not follow the DCEU movies any longer? A lack of a reply will be treated as confirmation. This is how you do them, mate. This is how you do them, with rock solid responses. What's happened with Henry Cavill is disgraceful. At least tell us you're not going to use him anymore. If you're not going to use him, what the fuck is going on with Superman? Can you at least tell us that? No. So we've had so many things. We've had DC fandom. Not a mention of Cavill's Superman. We've had a mention of a different Superman being developed by J.J. Abrams and a few other people, but not Henry's Superman. Everybody loves Henry Cavill's Superman. Let's get real here. But WB Pictures are being owned time and time again over that Sarnoff interview. More and more public figures hashtagging Restore the Snyderverse, bringing in their reactions and responses to his Justice League movie and saying they were surprised how much they loved it. Now, of course, these public figures are jumping on a tag because it had over 1 million tweets. And that's fine. Don't attack them for it. They're just trying to get known, right? They're just jumping on a popular tag. It works out for us, right? Thank them. Just thank them. And by the way, when you see these tweets, go and comment or quote tweet and say this: did you know that at WB Pictures doesn't want to use the movie you just loved as canon, and they want to use Joss Whedon's version as canon? Just say politely, this is the way we expose WB Pictures and we do restore the Snyderverse. But massive news, because I am here for the entirety of the DCEU. And even though I spoke on that quote tweet to WB Pictures about not watching the rest of the DCEU, I didn't mean it. That's just me. That's just my public face trying to put pressure on, trying to get them to restore the Snyderverse. Always remember that. I'm a DC fan. I love it all. So massive news. Black Adam's movie has got an official release date. Yes, The Rock teased us that he was going to make a huge announcement. And we all were hoping, upon hope and against hope, that he would announce Henry Cavill's Superman in his Black Adam movie. Alas, this wasn't the case, but he did announce the date. If I remember rightly, it's the 29th of July of next year, 2022, which means we've got Matt Reeves, the Batman, Aquaman 2, Flashpoint, and there's another one. I'm forgetting, right? I'm forgetting what movies we got this year. We got 4 DCEU movies, so let me try and remember them, right, before we read the Screen Rant article about Black Adam being released next year officially. And so we have Matt Reeves, the Batman, haven't we? We've got Aquaman 2, and we've got Flashpoint. And for the life of me, I can't remember the 4th film. It'll probably come to me after the video's finished. Anyway, let's read the article and get into the details of the official announcement from The Rock, aka Black Adam, that his movie will be released next year. Black Adam release date moves to July 2022. After being left off the DCEU release calendar for a few months, Dwayne Johnson's long-awaited Black Adam movie has scored a new July 2022 date. By Rachel Labanotti of Screen Rant, Black Adam scores a new July 2022 release date. Ever since 2008, Dwayne Johnson has attempted to get a movie made about the DC Comics villain turned anti-hero Black Adam. He was officially cast in the role for the DCEU in 2014, and there was some talk of him making his debut in Shazam. However, that never came to pass. Fans have waited ever since for Johnson to star in a Black Adam solo movie. Though the Jean Collet-Serra-directed project has taken some time to get off the ground, last year saw Black Adam make significant progress with the addition of various cast members. but the coronavirus pandemic complicated production plans. Now, though, Black Adam is moving forward once again. Just last week, the film's Justice Society of America lined up was complete with the addition of Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. He joins Noah Centineo, Atom Smasher, Quintessa Swindell, Cyclone, Aldis Hodge, Hawkman. Additional cast members for Black Adam include Sarah Shai as Marwan Kenzari, both in unrevealed roles. All right, so it's not, and Marwan Kenzari, sorry, both in unrevealed roles. Black Adam was pulled off the DCEU release calendar late last year due to the pandemic, but that is no longer the case. Sunday afternoon, Johnson announced on social media he would be making a special announcement regarding Black Adam. He remained coy about what said announcement was about, but it is now clear Black Adam has a new release date. The film will now premiere on July the 29th, 2022. It was previously scheduled for release in December of this year. Johnson confirmed the news with a video showing Black Adam taking over the main screens in Times Square, New York City. Check out below. This is just awesome, though. Really is. Look at this. That is just brilliant. And they must have spent a lot of money for this. So the DCEU and Warner Brothers Pictures are, there's no expense spared. Warner Media know DC is the biggest, IP that they have. And they're going all out for it. But is their direction the right direction? We're going to have to wait to see James Gunn's Suicide Squad. In a lot of ways, Suicide Squad doesn't have to be successful because it's not really part of the multiverse strategy, because it's pre-multiverse strategy, which is interesting. But it will be successful, mark my words. So what does he say? A disruptive and unstoppable global force of a message from the man in black himself. Black Adam is coming July the 29th, 2022. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. Well, you're never going to be more awesome than Superman, mate, but I love you, Rock, and I can't wait to see your movie. In a recent social media post, Johnson confirmed Black Adam is just a few weeks away from starting production, with the spring-summer filming schedule in place. It makes sense that the film won't debut until next year. July might be a bit later than some expected, no, but it's a perfect summer date for what could be DC's next breakout movie. July 29th puts Black Adam in between the Batman in March, and Flash in November. It can help break up the lengthy wait between DC flicks. Additionally, sending Black Adam to next year might be a smart move when it comes to dealing with the pandemic, though. There have been positive signs of improvement for the box office and movie-going experiences. It feels safer to schedule a major film for 2022. This can hopefully give Black Adam the chance to avoid any kind of streaming release that is now becoming common practice for blockbusters these days. After all this time, Black Adam has set down roots on a new date, and hopefully this one will truly stick. It will. Basically, this is happening. It won't be moved again. Movie theatres won't shut again. America are really getting this vaccine plan out with Biden. He's really aggressively going after this. It's kind of stunning, really, that Trump really didn't have a vaccine rollout plan, and this guy came in and kept to his promises and did that. So America, slowly but surely, in the world is getting back to normal, and Black Adam will be released. So it's a massive year for DC content. Shall I try again and see if I can remember the fourth movie they're releasing next year? Or is there a fourth movie? Am I imagining things? Right. The Batman, Aquaman 2, Black Adam, and Flashpoint. So next year, there's 4 movies. Wow. And all of those movies come before the multiverse strategy launch, which is Flashpoint. So, which is extremely interesting. Although those films will stick to a point, obviously they won't want to mess with them in Flashpoint too much, but Flashpoint is when everything really comes to a head. So that's the climax of a huge year for the DCEU. And yes, still fighting for Zack Snyder's Justice League and the restoration of those sequels and the Snyderverse. But I can also be excited for everything that's coming. 4 movies next year for any DC fan. That's got to be exciting, right? Every day on the DCEU Daily, we should have a section of James Gunn watch, because I love his interaction with fans. He really is a good guy, by the way. I know what he said with those kind of social media jokes about kids and everything, but that's in the past, right? Everyone's allowed to make mistakes. He stood up and he apologised for it. He's back now. It's time to move on. But anyway, I want to talk about James because someone asked him about the so-called toxic fandom from the Snyderverse. He said this, and I don't have the actual tweets to read off of, but he said something like this: the Snyder fans that just want to see more of Zack's films. I don't see anything wrong with that. And I don't see why the good fans, most of them are good fans fighting for something good, should be blamed by a few bad ones. And that's kind of what he said, not those exact words. So I want to thank James Gunn personally for that support. And what he actually said, and I'm remembering more now, he said a few of these articles saying they're, bad fans, when the majority of them are not. Could it be that he's actually giving some, let's just say, criticism to Ann Sarnoff and her Variety article? Because he did talk about articles saying that we're toxic fans, and him saying, the proportion of us, the majority of us, are actually not that toxic. So James Gunn's pretty awesome. He also spoke about Jay Courtney. Jay Courtney is a truly great actor who I always wanted to work with since we met years ago, and an amazing choice by David Ayer Movies, made for Captain Boomerang, the Suicide Squad. Now, I'm a bit worried about Jay Courtney's Captain Boomerang in this film, not because I'm so happy that he and Rick Flag are going to be in this movie, because I loved them in David Ayer's movie as well. But he seems to be with that team that are probably going to be toast, in my opinion. But hopefully it's not one lot die and the other lot don't. Maybe it's a mixture of groups and teams that die, which would make it a bit more unpredictable. But yeah, Jay Courtney is awesome. Should we see what else David Gunn's got to say on today's... James Gunn's got to say on James Gunn's watch. We're going to do a James Gunn watch. I think we'll do it every day. Maybe not. Don't hold me to that. Thanks so much for your compliments on and sharing the Suicide Squad trailer this weekend. Your kind words have made me emotional more than once. I love making this movie and cast and crew who worked on it, and can't wait to see it in theatres with all you on August the 6th. You know what? It's interesting. James Gunn, before he joined DC and when he was sacked temporarily from Disney, used to come out and act a lot more arrogantly. He seems to have got his polite head and his nice head, and this is a much better version of the guy. And so I do have a lot of time for him these days. Rooker makes friends everywhere he goes. We went to a bar. His first day of rehearsals on Volume 1, and he met a couple who were his friends for the rest of the trip. Of my friends, and he and Tony Goldwyn and John Cena are models for how to treat fans. And yeah, that's great. Some people like to interact with the fans, and you know what? This is why these guys are so popular, and this is why James Gunn brings them back to all his projects. So what else we got from James Gunn Watch? Happy birthday to my dear friend Nathan Fillion, the first person to show up on my set more than once, wearing T-shirts with me on them. Yeah, he had these made himself. That's fun. Now, this is interesting, right? So, someone called Erin Tarantino says, I wonder why the Suicide Squad sequel went with a great white shark for King Shark instead of Hammerhead like the comics. At James Gunn looks like he fucking nailed the Suicide Squad comic vibe regardless, but just curious. Right. So James responds, I did test with the Hammerhead design, which I love and originally thought I'd use, but having eyes on the sides far apart made it incredibly awkward shooting interactions with other people. You couldn't really see him looking at the other person, and the shots tended to be too wide. So that's a great answer by James Gunn, and I think he's got more to add about that. But I was insistent on the dad bod from the beginning, as I didn't think King Shark would have such a mammalian body structure. I love that design and the Harley Quinn show and Ron Funches version, but it was a complete coincidence as we were shooting a year before they debuted. The Axel Stone's version, developed by Steve Agee on set, is very different. So that's very interesting. He looks more adorable like this, someone says. Yes, I realise he's cute. Strange since we actively avoided neon tank designs used on cute anthropomorphic beasts to elicit that evolutionary R. Think baby Groot Yoda. His eyes are small, not big. His mouth is big, not small. and his head is tiny. So he's really interacting with fans. One final thing, King Shark, bit of trivia from the Suicide Squad. In this bit of footage, the shark is CG, of course, but the person is real. Well, not a real person, but a practical effect by our SFX and prosthetics teams that I shot. So very, very interesting. There's lots more. There's just so much we could say about James Gunn, and he really is interacting with fans. And this is the good thing with Gunn. He's always done this. He's like Zack Snyder in that way, where he is interacting with the fans, and I find that very, very interesting. But we must go on with the show. But I just thought we'd talk a little bit about James Gunn to show you he is a good guy. He does love the fans. And I hope his movie's awesome, because we need some positivity moving forward with the DCEU. One of the things we can see from the showrunner of Superman and Lois is that he loves the Smallville TV show, as I do. It's my favourite piece, or one of my favourite pieces of DC live-action media. Superman and Lois Easter egg makes Smallville's logo Arrowverse canon. By Nicholas Raymond of Screen Rant, Superman and Lois episode 5 cleverly inserted a neat Smallville Easter egg, which actually made the fan-favourite TV show's logo canon in the Arrowverse. Well, seeing that the multiverse strategy is coming, which makes everything ever made live action in DC canon, is a pretty cool thing, right? Superman and Lois made Smallville's logo Arrowverse canon with a cleverly inserted Easter egg. It was the latest of several references that the Arrowverse has made to the DC superhero series that started it all. As many involved in these shows have acknowledged, the popularity of Smallville is largely responsible for the existence of the CW's Arrowverse lineup. Absolutely. Shows like Supergirl have paid homage to Smallville in the past, but no Arrowverse series will have more opportunities to tie it in than Superman and Lois. Though the two shows centre on totally different periods in the Man of Steel's life, they're both set in his hometown and are filled with parallels. That's mostly due to Clark's teenage twins in Superman and Lois having problems that mirror the ones Clark faced in Smallville's early years, and this, of course, has been done purposely to mirror what they did on Smallville. Probably more than showing respect for the show, they knew that show worked for those reasons, and they're trying to kind of jump on the same winning formula, if you like. Superman and Lois dropped a direct reference to Smallville in the first half of episode 5. Best of Smallville, an outside shot showed a building called the Smallville Community Center. It didn't go unnoticed by many fans of the Superman prequel series that the font for the word Smallville exactly matched the logo used for the show. It amounted to a neat Easter egg that actually made Smallville's logo part of the Arrowverse's continuity. This wasn't the first Smallville Easter egg the show has included, and it's unlikely to be the last, given they share the same setting according to a sign. A store located somewhere in town apparently belongs to the Teague family. Wow! Who remembers Jason Teague, right? Played by, is it Jared? It's not Jared Padalecki. I forgot the guy who played Jason Teague, who plays Dean in Supernatural, but it's the same actor who played Jason Teague. Great character. And Jane Seymour, of all people, plays his mother. They were like this evil mother and son team, and they were great. Which is a nod to Season 4's Jason Teague, a.k.a. Jensen Ackles, that's him, and his parents, people who were involved in some of the show's Kryptonian mysteries. There's no telling how many more references to original Smallville material that could pop up in future episodes of Superman and Lois. Smallville had plenty of his own characters and concepts that Superman and Lois can pull from, including the Kawachi Caves, Chloe Sullivan, the Torch, and more. Chloe Sullivan's a bit difficult. I mean, listen, Chloe was one of my favourite Smallville characters, especially in the early seasons. But with what happened to Alison Mack, it's a bit difficult. But what I would say is Chloe Sullivan and Alison Mack are two different entities. Chloe Sullivan was a hero, a legend, a well-played and written character, and it should be okay to reference her. We will see. But this show is obsessed with Smallville. Superman and Lois definitely wants to reference that show a lot. And why not? As a lover of that, and still a massive fan, still watching episodes from it, no one is ever going to outdo that show. That show was sensational. It seems fitting that Superman and Lois is paying tribute to the series in this way. After all, the influence that Smallville has had on the show is unmistakable. Comparisons are common, despite the fact that this show is about a much older Clark. because of his post-crisis situation. The Arrowverse now has Tyler Hoechlin's Superman filling in a role that's not that different to the one Jonathan Kent, John Schneider, had on Smallville, with when he had a superpowered son of his own. For example, similarities between Clark's football story, I pointed that out in one of my Superman and Lois reviews a couple of weeks ago, in Smallville episode 3, and Jordan's in Superman and Lois' third episode appeared to be a bit too deep to be an accident. As the characters' stories continue to develop, more references and connections are sure to arise, whether it be by coincidence or on purpose. One thing I think may be similar, the Lex and Clark dynamic from day one to the end of Michael's run as Lex on Smallville was one of the brilliant things about the show. Is Jordan and Jonathan going the same direction as Clark and Lex? I think so, and I hope so. But at the moment, they're not giving many clues. You see Jonathan being jealous now and again, but it's not going that deep yet. But if they could do that, I would be even more pleased with them than I already am, because that would be awesome. Zack Snyder's Justice League changes how you'll watch Wonder Woman 1984. They're going to make a comparison with more of the peaceful Diana in 84, where she hasn't got a sword or a shield. But even Zack himself has said that Warner Brothers in no uncertain terms have told him that his Justice League Snyder Cut is not canon to the DCEU and Justice League is, which means this issue really doesn't matter. But let's see what Anna Damarog has to say about this from Screen Rant. Zack Snyder's Justice League changes some elements of Diana Prince's depiction in the DCEU, effectively changing how Wonder Woman 84 is perceived. The clamoured-for version of the Warner Brothers assembled superhero was finally released, revealing director Zack Snyder's original plan for its narrative before it was significantly changed for the theatrical cut. While the 4-hour feature is generally regarded as a better incarnation of the film, nobody thinks it's not a better incarnation. How could you not? Whatever you think of Zack. The better incarnation of the film, there are certain parts of it that negatively affect other entries in the franchise. The most notable one being how different the Snyder Cut's Wonder Woman is compared to her latest solo adventure. So let's just pretend the Snyder Cut is canon. It's not, but let's say it's DCEU canon. The Snyder Cut was filmed back in 2016, 2015, right, for a release in 2017. This, Wonder Woman 1984 was released last Christmas, right? So you can't blame Zack Snyder and his interpretation. By the way, his interpretation is there in Wonder Woman 2017 and BVS, where it all started. So he's always been consistent with his Wonder Woman being a gladiator, a violent, aggressive warrior who's actually compassionate as well. You can be all of those things. Patty Jenkins clearly doesn't think so. The first DCEU film to release on HBO Max, Wonder Woman 84, reteamed director Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot after the success of their first team-up in Wonder Woman from 2017. It saw the Themysciran princess in the 80s at the height of the Cold War between the United States and USSR. She faced two adversaries in this era, businessman Mark Maxwell Lord and Barbara Ann Minova Cheetah, but also got an ally through the brief return of Steve Trevor. Wonder Woman 1984 was a formative experience for Diana, as she not only acquired new superhero skills, but also finally learned how to fully come to terms with Steve's death. Well, I'm sorry, Diana. When they're doing that Flashpoint movie, I think Steve Trevor's going to come back. So you coming to terms with everything is pretty pointless. I'm just telling you, right? I'm just telling you what I'm hearing. While Wonder Woman 1984 was a step down from the original Wonder Woman film, yes, and by the way, we've discussed this before because Zack Snyder co-wrote the story to that film and was fully leading that film as well. Patty Jenkins was an episode director who fought for certain things in that film and got them, but she wasn't running the show. Let's be clear about that. And this is why when she got an opportunity to be in charge of a Wonder Woman movie, Wonder Woman 84, it's a very different interpretation and it didn't sit well with most people. It's an important jumping point for the character moving forward, so it's quite jarring that just a few months later, Zack Snyder's Justice League featured a different Diana. Wonder Woman 84 made it a point to highlight how much the Amazonian goddess was averse to violence. Hang on a minute. Right, can I just say something? You're talking about the Snyder Cut making her violent. She was violent in her first movie. She was violent in Batman vs. Superman already. Why aren't you referencing those movies, right? You know, if anything, Patty Jenkins is fucked things up here because she knew what the character's origins were in the DCEU franchise. We saw her in BVS, Wonder Woman 2017, a film that she directed. Then in the sequel, because it predates the other stories, right, she's decided to say, actually, back then she wasn't violent and she didn't have a shield, right? So somehow she grabs the shield again, right? Otherwise, you're being arrogant as a writer-director saying, nah, fuck what happened then. I'm doing my own thing. And this is what she's done. This is exactly what Rian Johnson did in The Last Jedi. He saw what Abrams did and he said, fuck it, I'm just going to do what I want. That's why I think Johnson's a really talented guy who should have got his own trilogy to do his own thing. And then I don't think he would be hated by anyone right now. By the way, I think we'd be celebrating him. In the film's opening action sequence, she had to be creative fighting the robbers, not using guns or any deadly weapons. Instead, she simply rounded them up and offered them to authorities. She did try to minimise the fatalities in her first battle scene in the Snyder Cut, neutralising the terrorist threat by stealthily taking them down one by one. Diana spent most of the time protecting herself and the civilians from danger and ensuring that the bomb that wouldn't set off. But at the very last minute, she decided to blast the group's leader in front of everyone. Should we actually get some balance to that? The guy was going to shoot all those children and their teachers, right? I think he had it coming, right? And he would have killed Diana, although he couldn't kill Diana, but you know what I mean. I think she's in her rights to do what she did, including kids effectively destroying the building and killing the guy. True, it defeated the villains, but she could have easily defeated him without using violence. How? How many fucking situations have you been in, my friend, where you've got a violent person with a gun and you can easily sort that out peacefully? She has the ability just to kick the gun from him or whip it away from him. I agree, but basically, he offended Diana by trying to kill those kids. So in the end, she said, fuck you, I'm going to kill you. Quite right too. Violence against children is unacceptable. And Diana is well in her rights to do this. You idiot. Aside from Diana's fighting principles, Zack Snyder's Justice League also changed Diana's negative stance on the resurrection of Superman in the theatrical cut. In the version put together by Joss Whedon, Diana first pushed back on the idea of bringing Clark Kent back to life, resulting in a brief but intense conflict between her and Batman, who was all for it. While Wonder Woman ultimately agreed, her initial apprehension was rooted in her experience in Wonder Woman 84. Look, nobody even knew what Patty Jenkins was going to do in Wonder Woman 84 anyway when they were making that film, where Steve's resurrection came with a price in the theatrical version. Yeah, I see what you're saying, right? She could remember that and that's why she's arguing, but is it plausible that anyone knew what she was going to do with Wonder Woman 84 at that point? It's purely an accident, surely not, unless Whedon knew what Jenkins was going to do. Came with a price. In the theatrical version, she argued that technology, like any power, without reason, without heart, it destroys us, referring to using the Mother Box to bring back Superman as they gear up for their upcoming battle against Steppenwolf. The Snyder Cut changed that, failing to preserve her character continuity in her personal arc in the DCEU. Again, Zack had no idea what Patty's plans were for Wonder Woman 84, so it would have been impossible. And by the way, Zack's doing his own thing, and quite right too. And when he was doing Justice League, he was in charge of the DCEU, not Patty Jenkins. So he could do what he damn well wanted to do, right? While Zack Snyder's Justice League contradicts the version of Diana in Wonder Woman 84, it does set up a much better Wonder Woman 3. The theatrical cut didn't really plant any narrative seeds. No, that could springboard the character's arc in her imminent prequel. That said, it's important to note that the Snyder Cut is not deemed official DCEU canon. That's true, it's a fact. So ultimately, Diana's future story will be dictated by her second standalone and Justice League 2017 film. So look, that's interesting what's going on here. Now, Grace Randolph did say that there are some higher-ups that want Zack to direct and write Wonder Woman 3. It's interesting. Clearly, nobody at Warner Brothers Pictures wants Zack to touch that, but Warner Media, Keelar obviously want that. Keelar's in charge, Stank is in charge, they'll get what they want. I think the results were going to be interesting. after Zack Snyder's Justice League and what they were going to do with Zack and his DC universe. But I think after that million tweet trend, I think anything Warner Brothers says is going to just be ignored. And something else I'm going to say to you. Ann Sarnoff will be removed from her permission. Let me say that again. Ann Sarnoff will be removed from her position at Warner Brothers Pictures eventually. Now, she will be sacked, but not officially. She will get a promotion either at that company or somewhere else. She will be moved on very quietly, probably in about 3 to 6 months. Because basically, that hit piece she did with Variety, that really embarrassed Warner Media and Jason Kilar. They are not happy. And as I said on the top of the show, and before on this channel, and on the DCEU Daily as well, you've got public figures, saying, restore the Snyderverse. I want to see more gifs of what is that film when the kid goes, can I have more? That's what people are doing. It's nuts. I'm on TikTok, right? And that's where the youth are. The youth and the young people want more Snyder. They don't care about the central universe. Everyone's talking about Zack. GIFs, videos, people talking over, backgrounds of the film. People love that film. We are going to restore the Snyderverse, and Ann Sarnoff will lose her job. What she did was toxic. The stuff she was saying about the fans was untrue, and she was only talking about a minority. And even James Gunn has pretty much said something against what she did. Not in so many words, but that's what's going on here. Sarnoff is gone. Sarnoff is in trouble. Warner Brothers Pictures will be swallowed up by Warner Media eventually because they are a toxic environment and they have to be dealt with. And Jason Kilar and Stanky will deal with them in due course. So don't worry about that. Now, in terms of this and what they're saying about Wonder Woman 84, listen, it is so implausible to all of a sudden say that Wonder Woman's this pacifist that doesn't believe in this or that. Now, in her heart and her mind, she is a pacifist. She doesn't want to hurt people. But she's also a gladiator. Once she's got that shield and sword in her hand and she's in the throes of battle, people are going to die. It's okay for Diana to kind of kill people or her enemies, because even in some graphic novels she does that. It's not like Superman, where he's always or most of the time had this no-kill policy. So it was a lot more controversial for Superman to kill Zod. And I get that kind of upset from some people, even though I didn't have an issue with it. But in terms of Wonder Woman can kill whoever she wants, as far as I'm concerned. And when you're threatening the lives of children, you deserve to get it in the neck. Just my opinion, by the way. Simon Gallagher of Screen Rant says this: Zack Snyder's Justice League has the best movie Batmobile scene. Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League fixed a lot of issues, but Batman was the biggest winner, thanks partly to an incredible Batmobile sequence. The question of how Zack Snyder's Justice League compares to the other DC movies is a complex one, but in its use of the Batmobile, it outdoes every Batman movie. Although my favourite Batmobile sequence has to be in Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, when he's going after the Kryptonite and Luthor's henchmen. That sequence is fucking awesome. And I think it's better than the one in Zack Snyder's Justice League, even though I love that as well. Just my opinion, of course. The sequence in the question, which sees Batman lead an assault on Steppenwolf's stronghold, is not only an exceptional action sequence, which it is, but it says everything about Batman's part in the Justice League. And Snyder's cut rescued it from being almost laughable in the theatrical version. Ben Affleck's Batman was one of the biggest winners out of the revival of Snyder's cut. His characterization is denser, he gets more impressive action moments, and he feels more like the league's leader. One of my favourite Batman moments, by the way, in that film is when he gets in the back tank or whatever you call it, and he goes, my turn, and he starts shooting the fuckers, right? I absolutely love that sequence. He's far from only one to get a serious upgrade from Joss Whedon's theatrical cut, but he represents a specific issue and requires specific focus, because Batman is a man fighting alongside gods, and Whedon's cut never quite justified his presence or his leadership. That much changed dramatically in the Snyder cut, and his resourcefulness as well as his resources shines a lot brighter in his use of vehicles in particular. Yeah, you know, Batman's always been, even in the graphic novels, kind of a really resourceful, intelligent guy who can develop all this tech as well. You know, that tech is his superpower. When people say, how can Batman do this or that? He's smart, he can fight, And he's kind of an inventor in a lot of ways. He's a very intelligent reader of people. So Batman's got a lot in his armoury. Alongside the Nightcrawler, the fleeting scene Bat Tank from the finale in the Sykes-defying personal carrier, Batman also boasts a Batmobile that combines the practicality of Nolan's Tumbler with the theatricality of Burton and Schumacher's more shoe vehicles. And beyond an impactful aesthetic, the assault on Steppenwolf's stronghold showcased the vehicle in a way no other Batman movie has quite managed. Well, I'm not sure about that, but anyway. And by the way, I love the Batmobile in BVS, and I love all the Batmobiles, by the way. Combining the logic behind, the Tumbler is fucking awesome as well, by the way. The logic behind Ben Affleck's Batman with an all-action, high-speed functionality that was almost Fast and Furious like Snyder's sequence was a true celebration of a vehicle too often used as an exhibition piece. But that's cool as well, by the way. I love all that. Nolan's Batmobile came close, but the very fact that it was called the Tumbler confirms the issues there. It was in a too-grounded universe that never quite understood the mythology of the vehicle. Interesting point. Burton, and to a lesser extent Schumacher, understood that but limited the functionality of the vehicle in the belief that only impact mattered. Snyder's version is balanced, a brutal attack vehicle that is an extension of Bruce Wayne's muscular heroism, as well as a justification for him leading the charge. It allows Wayne to put himself in danger as a distraction while also giving him the firepower to actually carve a hole in the Stronghold's defences. Yeah, I must admit, for a minute, I forgot all about that. That is fucking awesome, by the way. I agree. Still not better than the Batmobile sequence in BVS, but fucking awesome nevertheless. Most impressively, the moment that sees Aquaman side carrying on hood of the Batmobile also feels significantly less corny than in the theatrical cut. Removing the gags elsewhere and charging up the conflict between Arthur and the other heroes means Aquaman's enjoyment of the high-octane moment feels considerably more authentic. And on top of that, the fact that the Batmobile actually feels under threat throughout Batman's assault, and Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne appears concerned for his fate despite pushing onwards, that's true, is a vulnerability rarely seen in other Batman movies. Again, that's true. While bringing a small tank to a battle of gods could have been a cop-out, it all ends up being one of the best Justice League moments. Although this is very true. I must say that's a brilliant little article. And this is what people, these little nuggets that everyone's finding. You know, journalists are talking this franchise up now. The Snyderverse up, right? And they're all fighting for the restoration of it. Everyone wants this to happen now. They know when there's over 1 million people tweeting that it's not just the fans. Now, I know a couple of articles are going on about us downvoting Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong. I would suggest you don't do that. As you've seen in China, it doesn't matter what you do. You know, review bombing a film isn't going to work. You know, Warner Media are going to have a successful year. Whatever you do, be positive. # restore the Snyderverse. But not only is review bombing a shitty thing to do, it just makes you look toxic. And we know we're not a toxic fandom. So please stop making the rest of us look bad. The Suicide Squad, every change to Harley Quinn from 2016 and Birds of Prey. The Suicide Squad will introduce a new version of Harley Quinn with a few changes to her character from 2016 Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey by Jasmine Gullop. From Screen Rant, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad will introduce a new version of everyone's favourite psycho, Harley Quinn, with changes to her character from David Ayer's 2016 Suicide Squad and Kathy Yan's Birds of Prey. Since her DCEU introduction in 2016, Harley has changed significantly, especially given her breakup with the Joker in Birds of Prey. Her character will continue to evolve in the new movie as she assumes a new role, picks up new weapons, and her appearance changes once again. After an underwhelming start to the Suicide Squad saga in 2016, right, let's get this right. I've already forgotten your name, Madam, Ms. or Miss, or whatever you want to call yourself. Suicide Squad 2016 isn't an underwhelming start. Even though Warner Brothers forced David to go back and reshoot some stuff and edit out some of his stuff as well, the 2016 theatrical cut isn't like Justice League. It's actually a pretty good and well-rounded, entertaining piece of art, and I like it. And for me, it wasn't underwhelming. So, starts to the Suicide Squad saga in 2016, Warner Brothers hoped to correct mistakes made in the first movie by hiring Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn. The franchise's relaunch promises plenty of cynical humour as well as action-packed fight scenes. The movie stars Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie, alongside other members of Task Force X, who have been pulled out of high-security prison Belle Reve to undertake a search and destroy mission on the fictional island of Corte Maltese. As in the first film, the squad is monitored by Colonel Rick Flag and Amanda Waller, who use death threats to compel action. The Suicide Squad includes newcomers to the DCEU, including Bloodsport, Peacemaker, Ratcatcher 2, Savant, King Shark, Blackguard, and Javelin. And the Doctor Who, Peter Capaldi as well, don't forget him. Harley Quinn, a fan favourite, is featured heavily in the trailer and as a central character in the film. Margot Robbie's performance in 2016's Suicide Squad was a bright spot in a movie that was mostly panned by critics. Right, where do you think that performance came from? From a beautiful script and a beautiful directing performance by David Ayer. If she's good, the film's good. You can't have it both ways. She continued to shine in Birds of Prey. She did not continue to shine in Birds of Prey. Margot's performance was great. It wasn't a terrible film, but to pan Suicide Squad 2016 and then say everything was so much better in Birds of Prey, a movie that hardly made a profit, come on. Birds of Prey, which had a much better critical response. Yes, it had a critical response, and we all know why, and it was nothing to do with the quality of the film, but underperformed at the box office. Now, yeah, Suicide Squad 2016 actually made quadruple what Birds of Prey made. Let's remember that. At the box office. Now, Warner Brothers hopes to get a critical and commercial hit with the Suicide Squad. They will, which stars a Harley very different from the character originally introduced in 2016. Harley lost and rediscovered herself in Birds of Prey, creating her own brand of mayhem and building up a new moral code. Harley Quinn does not have a moral code, and she should never have a moral code. Harley Quinn was a loner in the 2016 version of Suicide Squad. So far, that's where I preferred her, personally. Imprisoned in a high-security facility for the worst of the worst, she was simply biding her time until the Joker came to break her out, since the only thing that mattered to her was seeing the Joker again. She didn't have as much on the line as the other characters. Harley didn't seem to care about her cell conditions or the fact that she's a prisoner. She just found fun where she could get it. Throughout Suicide Squad, she thrilled at small victories like rediscovering her favourite outfit or getting to pulverise bad guys with a bat. When the Joker showed up to rescue Harley in a helicopter, she didn't hesitate to abandon the rest of the squad. The Joker eventually frees Harley at the end of the movie, and reunited with her pudding, she goes on to cause chaos until her breakup in Birds of Prey. When Harley and the Joker break up at the start of Birds of Prey, she undergoes a major character shift. Having been dumped, Harley finds herself adrift, not knowing who she is without her relationship with the Joker. After cutting ties with him for good by blowing up the chemical plant where he remade her, Harley starts a journey to rebuild her identity outside of Mr. J. Now, these are very, very feminist themes, by the way, and this is Margot's whole point in this film. She gets a new apartment, adopts a hyena, and begins to mentor aspiring criminal Cass. At one point, Harley backslides into her old ways, making a deal to save her own skin by selling out Cass. By the end of the film, however, Harley has discovered the value of connecting with people. She discovers she truly cares about Cass, going to great lengths to rescue her and working with Montoya, the Huntress and Black Canary in an unofficial Birds of Prey team for a common goal. Harley is still a bit of a maverick by the end of the movie, but when she starts up her own criminal enterprise, she makes Cass her apprentice. Maintaining her new ties to the world, even though she's still a criminal, she has a clear moral code. Yeah, she's going to introduce a kid into the organised crime and violence. Isn't that moral code great? What a joke. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad seems to build on that idea. Actually, no. You're hoping for that, but this is going to go the other way. Giving Harley a central place in the team when she's captured, the rest of the squad unites in a mission to save her. Harley is able to escape herself, but when she discovers the team about to rescue her, she's touched, offering to go back inside so she can go through with the mission. Suicide Squad 2's Harley Quinn is still too much of a loose cannon to be the leader of the team, but she is the linchpin, the character that holds everyone together. I think you got it wrong there. Harley seems to prompt a strange sort of affection in the people around her, especially criminals who may wish they had her guts. It seems likely that Harley will make lasting connections to the members of the Suicide Squad, who, unlike the Birds of Prey, are bad guys. She's no longer the kind of person who would leave the team behind without a second thought. Maybe she'll even find some new recruits for her crime syndicate, or find a female friend in Ratcatcher 2. You see what they're hoping for? This is a female writer. She's hoping for a female all girls together thing, but I actually think her and Rick Flag may hit it out romantically, and I can't remember if I mentioned that before, but that's my prediction, and the feminists are certainly not going to like that. In Birds of Prey and Air's Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn is shown using a variety of weapons, including revolvers, baseball bats, a carambit knife, her customised wooden mallet, and the fun gun, an M79 grenade launcher with homemade non-lethal ammo. Harley has a preference for bludgeoning weapons, showing great skill with the baseball bat and mallet. She uses them in a variety of ways, hitting her enemies, weak spots in a close combat, launching other items at her attackers, and throwing the weapons themselves. Harley's facility with knives is also reinforced in Birds of Prey, as she uses as a picture of the Joker for target practice. Harley is good with guns, able to hit centre mass and make the occasional headshot, but seems to be better with knives. Her fun gun is a unique weapon designed for a specific ambush, which also fits Harley's preference for the occasionally picking up weapons with a lot of firepower. Her philosophy seems to be go big or go home. The only limit to Harley Quinn's use of weapons is for imagination, so it's no surprise to see her using 2 new weapons in the Suicide Squad. In the trailer for the film, Harley is seen using a long spear, not her usual preference, but definitely useful in a jungle setting where she made the squad are fighting guerrilla forces. Harley could use it extremely effectively as a melee weapon, stunning enemies with the staff portion and stabbing them with the pointy end. It's also useful as a long-distance weapon, able to be thrown as a tool against Kaiju threats like Starro. The bazooka is Harley's other weapon of choice, which is typical of her character. Harley revels in mayhem and delights in large explosions, so her attraction to the bazooka makes sense. Harley Quinn's costume in the Suicide Squad is another reimagination of her traditional look. After the controversial costume in 2016 Suicide Squad, the costume in 2016 was more accurate to Bruce Timm's original conceit, right? Not very accurate. They could have got her wearing the Court Jester stuff, which I thought would have been better. It was, let's just say, I didn't agree with like some of the things they did with the bending over, all the guys looking at her butt. It wasn't, they weren't good things, and David Ayer has to be, it's either David Ayer or Jeff Johns or whoever did that. It wasn't right, and I agree with Margot being upset about that, but at the end of the day, I think she's taken it to another level. Because the idea in Birds of Prey is to make her sexless, basically, so you're not attracted to her one little bit. So she's gone right, she's doubled down on the feminist agenda, if you like. Now, I don't mind what she's wearing in Birds of Prey. It doesn't bother me one little bit. But I just think the way the character is totally in 2016 Suicide Squad is a much better fit for me as the character. And it was more effective as far as I'm concerned, which included hot pants and a t-shirt that overtly sexualized her character. This is true. Guns of Suicide Squad is taking a different track. Like Birds of Prey, Harley's costume in the Suicide Squad, are sexy but subdued in the trailer. Harley mainly appears in a blood red chiffon dress with a ruffled asymmetrical skirt and halter top adorned with ribbons. The posters and promotional photos of Suicide Squad 2 also show Harley in a new costume, on an all-leather get-up, emulating her red and black bodysuit from the comics and Batman the animated series. So Gunn's a fan of the Suicide Squad comics, and he's copying and pasting a lot of things, which is awesome for the fans as well. Both outfits are versatile enough for a fight, but also show Harley's sense of fun. The fact that Harley spends at least some of the movie in a dress highlights her femininity, evoking an idea of fragility that's at odds with her brutal fighting technique. On the other hand, Harley looks battle ready in her leather boots, pants, corset, jacket and fingerless gloves, which seem almost like a uniform. The outfit weaponizes Harley's femininity. Both match Harley's traditional look more closely than the outfits in Birds of Prey, exactly, which explores her identity and follows her throughout the day-to-day life. In addition to her costumes and weapons, the changes to Harley's character during Birds of Prey are also apparent in one big modification to her tattoos, recently revealed in behind-the-scenes footage for the Suicide Squad, the tattoo on Harley's left shoulder blade, which previously read property of the Joker, which feminists obviously wouldn't like, now reads property of no one. That's a very, very feminist thing to put on there, isn't it? And of course, this is something that Margot Robbie would have been responsible for, reinforcing Harley's newfound sense of self-confidence and identity following her breakup from the Joker. In Birds of Prey, some of Harley's other tattoos from Air's Suicide Squad are also modified. In the opening sequence, she's turning the pudding tattoo on her upper left thigh into one that reads pudding cups. You know, this is just so juvenile and stupid. Plus, the word pudding is also crossed out in the Harley pudding tattoo on her upper right thigh. Harley's rotten tattoo on her right cheek is missing in Birds of Prey and the Suicide Squad. More modifications to her Joker-related tattoos are sure to follow, which I'm sure Miss Feminist Journalist has made you very, very happy. You really looked into this, right, about how she's dressed, how she's conducted herself, blah, blah, blah. None of it matters to the audience, not to the sane members of the audience. So your identity politics and your feminism are important to you, and I respect you for that, but this is the entertainment industry, and nobody gives a fuck about your politics and what upsets you. Well, Margot Robbie does. Margot Robbie has got a lot of influence here. She can wear and do what she wants. Margot is a great Harley Quinn, but it's the feminist element of her agenda and philosophy that's going to be problematic in the future. She's going off to do this Pirates of the Caribbean thing. It's all going to end in tears. And Margot Robbie has to decide now, is she going to be an advocate for making feminist movies, or is she actually going to be making successful movies? I suppose only time will tell. Right, this is an interesting one by Mansoor Mifwala. I think that's right. I'm sorry, mate, if I'm reading your name wrong. From Screen Rant. Biggest detail that makes Snyder Cut's Joker different from other versions. One particular detail from Batman and Joker's interaction in Zack Snyder's Justice League makes Jared Leto's villain different from previous versions. One particular detail from the nightmare sequence in Zack Snyder's Justice League makes Jared Leto's Joker different from other live-action incarnations of the character. Leto perhaps saw his role in the Snyder Cut as an opportunity to redeem himself in the eyes of the DCEU fans after his truncated, detested portrayal in Suicide Squad, and his brief time in the 4-hour film certainly improved his standing in many ways. However, the scene and the movie itself aren't without their fair share of criticism. Well, I haven't seen any, mate, but I suppose in your little world there must be criticism. Anyway, look, not everyone's going to like your art or like what you do in life. And when we put the magnifying glass on everything that someone said, it's just for people who want to go down a negative or positive angle, and I'm really not interested. Given the story in Zack Snyder's Justice League, it made sense to bring back Joker for the nightmare sequence, instead of a flashback or a side scene, which would only detract from the core storyline. The last time viewers saw DCEU's version of Batman and Joker interact I don't even understand that bloody word. I don't know why they use it in articles. Abate. Not on screen. I'm probably reading it wrong. On screen at the same time was in Suicide Squad when Batman chased Joker and Harley Quinn on the streets of Gotham, but only managed to capture the latter. When they meet again, seemingly years have passed and the world is destroyed. In order to right the world, Batman comes up with a plan to send Flash back in time to warn him about the coming danger. An earlier attempt at this was shown in Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, when Flash warned Bruce that Lois Lane is the key. The thing is, Batman can't complete the mission on his own, so he recruits the likes of Flash, Cyborg and Mira, as well as villains Deathstroke and Joker. Interestingly, during Batman and Joker's conversation, the Clown Prince of Crime revealed that he knew Batman's secret identity. He said Bruce twice, which is something no other movie version of the character has ever done before. It's been speculated before that the previous Jokers knew Batman's identity and chose not to do anything with the information, or at least not do anything until the opportune moment arose. Again, that's only been speculation, and the cinema versions of the character have always remained in the dark on who Batman really is. But that changed in Snyder's cut. It's unclear how Joker found out Batman's identity, though there are two possibilities. Deathstroke told Joker about it after he found out from Lex Luthor, or Batman let it slip after he recruited Joker. Perhaps it was one of the agreements, though itself, if also speculation. Batman's secret identity is such a key part of his characterization that hearing Joker say the name Bruce is strange. Various comic book storylines have indicated that Joker knows Bruce Wayne is Batman, but this is a storyline that's largely remained absent from the big screen. Actually having Joker name drop Bruce twice in one conversation while the two of them are on a truce is so far-fetched that it could only happen in the apocalypse, which it did in the Snyder Cut. Unfortunately, it's unlikely Ben Affleck's Batman and Jared Leto's Joker will ever interact again. Don't bank on it, bucko. I'm wondering, how do you feel about this? How do you think Leto's Joker knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne? Because he used to be Jason Todd? Maybe? That theory has been out there for so long. I'm desperate for this theory to be true because it just makes the Joker and Batman's relationship so compelling. Imagine Jason Todd killing Dick Grayson out of some jealousy or whatever, right? But if Jason Todd became the Joker, that's a story we want to see told. It would be fantastic. So that is what I think, Mr. Screen Rant Man. I think the Joker knows Batman is Bruce Wayne because he used to be Jason Todd. Comments down below. Let me know what you think about my theory. We've been doing this for nearly an hour. It's gone off a bit, but never mind. Nearly finished. You can go home for the day soon. Just bear with me. Suicide Squad creator can't wait to see James Gunn's movie. Suicide Squad comics creator John Ostrander can't wait to see James Gunn's sequel reboot Hybrid after seeing the brand new trailer for the film. It makes me laugh. This is by Graham Gutman. Listen what they say that, like Gunn's sequel reboot Hybrid. Listen, it's a sequel. It's a self-contained sequel. It's not a fucking reboot. Anyway. The Suicide Squad creator can't wait to see James Gunn's new movie. The villainous team made their DCEU debut in 2016's David Ayer directed Suicide Squad. The film proved polarizing, with critics and some fans disliking the watered-down PG-13 movie. The film proved to be a good box office success, though, grossing $746 million worldwide against the $175 million budget. A sequel was initially expected to be fast-tracked, but plans were put on hold so the studio could retool the film. In fact, at one point, they wanted Mel Gibson to do Suicide Squad 2. Yes, I remember those days, do you? That would have been interesting. Enter James Gunn, fresh off the success of the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie. In fact, the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie was much maligned by people. I like both the movies. The first one is original, and I think that's why it works more, but I like both the movies, but a lot of people didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and that's a fact. Gunn was fired by Disney for resurfaced offensive tweets, and DC quickly swooped in to have him write and direct the sequel to Suicide Squad. The upcoming sequel reboot will feature some of the first film's characters, including Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie, Rick Flag, Joel Kinnaman, Captain Boomerang, Jay Courtney, and Amanda Waller, Viola Davis, as well as a slew of new villains that Gunn decided to bring to the big screen. A new glimpse at the Suicide Squad was released on Friday, with the film's first trailer, and at least one person is extremely excited. Who created the modern version of the Suicide Squad in 1987, expressed his excitement for the upcoming film. After seeing the trailer, DC Comics posted his reaction to the trailer, with Ostrander seemingly in disbelief at the trailer, saying he wants to see the film on the biggest screen he can find. Plus, I'm sure Ostrander's making a few bits of green over this as well. But it's great to get his positive response as well. The Suicide Squad trailer dropped today, and I couldn't be more excited. I want to see this right now. My first reaction was, wow. Wow. I want to see this on the biggest screen I can find. Just too cool. John Ostrander. And that's DC's official account putting that up. So that's great. I love these comic book people having positive responses to movies, because obviously Zack has some problems with the creator of Watchmen, didn't he? The Suicide Squad's Red Band trailer shows how different this movie will be from the 2016 original. Not only does it look to have the bloody violence that fans are used to from the comics, but it also had the wry humour and foul-mouthed villains too. Complaints around the original film centred around how Suicide Squad was holding back from its full potential, and now that Gunn is on board, that seems to have changed. Gunn is known for taking obscure comic book groups and making them hits on the big screen, with both Guardians of the Galaxy movies becoming massive hits. The director looks to be doing the same with the Suicide Squad, and he has Ostrander in his corner on this one. Comic creators' reactions to adaptations of their work tend to be on the negative side, yet Winter Soldier creator Ed Brubaker expressed mixed feelings about the Disney Plus series Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm not surprised. And its handling of his character. Ostrander's stamp of approval is likely to be a relief for Gunn, Warner Brothers and fans who are eager to see this team reach their full potential. While the Suicide Squad trailer doesn't give away much, it does clue viewers into the fact that this film will be wildly different from its 2016 counterpart. Yes, look, I think mostly the reaction from the trailer has been so positive, and it's great that Ostrander, a legend, because basically Gunn has said he loves Ostrander's work, and he's literally copying and pasting a lot of his work. So that's what would have made Ostrander happy. It's interesting that the comic book guy who created the Winter Soldier, or whatever he created, isn't happy with Falcon on the Winter Soldier, because I think that's a subject for another film. But I've actually warmed to the Suicide Squad trailer. Remember I did that video which people didn't like, where I said I didn't like the Suicide Squad trailer. I'm actually loving it now. After watching it a few times, I think it's awesome, and I'm looking forward to this film. But before I go, let's talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier very, very quickly. This is my opinion. Basically, Captain America, Chris Evans' Captain America wanted Sam Wilson to have the shield and carry on the Captain America name. But instead of just saying from the beginning of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I'm Captain America, I don't think Sam Wilson should be Captain America. He doesn't have the height. He's a boring character. I'm not interested in him. And it is nothing to do with the colour of his skin. Give it to Eddie Murphy. I'm fine. At least he'll make me smile. But I've never liked Sam Wilson. I've always thought he's a boring Group Z character. And I don't see the point of him, let alone making him Captain America. So anyway, so they can do commentary on racial things and representation. They've got this whole new old Captain America, which they experimented on and abused just to say, hey, we know what's happening here. So clearly the creator of the Winter Soldier, or whatever he created, isn't happy with this series, and I don't blame him. All this is another stab from Hollywood at our identity politics, and it sucks. It's not entertaining, and it's boring. I know this was the DCEU Daily. I just had to get my thoughts out there. Comment down below, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. See you again soon.